Professional physicists might know him as a creator of a special type of lamp, the one who perfected Edison's light bulb, the one who created an apparatus for determining the mechanical equivalent of heat, or the one directly related to the discovery of X-rays. Citizens of Prague might also know him by construction of the Prague Municipal Power Plant and the first tram line. Those studying literature have probably found his name among the translators of the Bible and the most prominent polyglots. His achievements are sometimes associated with other names, while he himself never put fame higher than justice. The train departs from the region where he was born, the Kingdom of Galicia and Lodomeria, also known as Austrian Galicia or Austrian Poland. Before his 20s, he was getting education in the native region, first the hometown of Hromylov and then in Ternopil. Proceeding from a religious family, after basic studies of religion as part of his primary education, in the year 1865 the 20-year-old young man became a student at the Greek Catholic Theological Seminary in Vienna. His interests were not limited by church, though. By that time, he already managed to translate a handbook of geometry for gymnasium students, and such type of work appeared to attract him more. So at some point of the studies at the University of Vienna, he began to attend more lectures in mathematics, physics, and astronomy, and finally decided to leave the idea of becoming a clergyman. He preferred academic work for further career, even though his parents did not support the decision, deprived their financial assistance from the son, and broke their communication. Hence, he had to earn his living by giving private lessons in mathematics for some time. By the end of the studies, he co-authored the first translation of the Bible into Ukrainian and helped to publish it in Vienna and Lviv. He graduated from the theological faculty with honors, but then spent 3 more years as a student of the Faculty of Philosophy at the same university. During this time, he was assistant to Professor Victor von Lahn, a pioneer in crystal physics, and also successfully published his first scientific articles in physics. However, he was not then allowed to teach in Lviv or Kiev for what was viewed as political reasons. So after graduating, he joined the Naval Academy in Fiume, now Rijeka, in Croatia. Here he was lecturing on physics and mechanics in German, which was the language of science at those times, and also here he designed a device to measure the mechanical equivalent of heat. In 3 years after its construction, the device was awarded a silver medal at the General International Exhibition in Paris. With all the experiments and achievements, he was unable to continue his career at the academy. The initial job agreement was signed for 2 years only, and after the chair of physics and mechanics had unexpectedly died, another candidate was selected for the professorship. As a solution, he decided to apply for a scholarship for further education at the University of Strasbourg. Luckily, it worked, and in slightly more than half a year, the 31-year-old man already became a doctor of natural philosophy in Strasbourg. He worked on the thesis on internal friction in gases under supervision of Auguste Comte. Well, it was also in these university labs where he became friends with Nikola Tesla, another trainee at the university at those times, and met William Conrad Röntgen, who was already a professor, while being a month and a half younger. He once notified Professor Röntgen about an unusual lightning he saw in a vacuum tube under current, but it sounded like some kind of a nonsense for Röntgen. In June of the year 1876, he returned to Vienna, highly enthusiastic about the results of his studies, fresh knowledge he gained, and conclusions he made from the scientific discussions and experiments with Comte and Tesla. Searching for a possibility to give lectures on theoretical mechanics, optics, magnetism, and electricity, he was wishing to keep the ability to conduct laboratory experiments. Thus he applied and was appointed for a position of a so-called Privatdozent at the University of Vienna. meaning he would be able to teach without a need to be a full professor, but would not get any salary. In the year 1881, as a result of experiments into what he called cold light, he developed a lamp known after his own name based on X-ray radiation. During the same period, he described a so-called radiant electrode matter for the first time. He then continued his studies of gases, paying special attention to the low-pressure gases in vacuum tubes. Some of the glass tubes he made himself, while the apparatuses he developed were especially noted during the International Exhibition in Paris in 1881. By that time, his appointment at the Vienna University had been extended twice, and the position he was taking was changed so that he could receive salary. However, the salary was far from being competitive, so when the 38-year-old assistant was invited to a private electric lighting company as technical manager, he agreed. He took part in an upcoming electrical exhibition in Steyr, Austria in 1884. For some time he was in charge of a new bulb factory, but complicated relations with the high administration made him leave the industry and come back to the academia at the age of 49. He was soon accepted as a full professor at the chair of experimental and technical physics in the German Technical University in Prague. There he managed to renovate and modernize the existing rooms and proposed to build a new Physics and Mechanics Institute in the year 1895. But the idea was not supported. Disappointed, he proceeded with the teaching responsibilities and experiments. This very year he came back to his work on radiant electrode matter started 15 years ago. Remembering the principles, he was sure it could be successfully implemented in medicine, and was again using his lamp to demonstrate its suitability for animals and humans. His papers to report results of all the experiments and to share the high-quality images created with X-rays got published by the Vienna Academy and one of the Parisian scientific journals in February 1896. It was his tube American scientists used for their attempts to create an X-ray image for medical diagnosis this very February. But all that given, Ivan Poluis's works were perceived as a confirmation of the discovery by Röntgen rather than an independent scientific achievement. William Conrad Röntgen announced the discovery of X-rays a month and a half earlier. 5 years later, Röntgen would become the first Nobel Prize laureate in physics for this discovery, though he never mentioned Ivan Poluis's name as that of a fellow scientist. Ivan Poluis served as the rector of the German Technical University in Prague, worked as a state advisor on electrical engineering for Bohemian and Moravian local governments, was offered a position of the Minister of Education in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. For some time, Albert Einstein was his neighbor in Prague and a frequent guest in his house. A university, a national prize and an asteroid were named in Ivan Poluis's honor, while the rays he discovered and marked as unknown, X-rays, will be called by Röntgen's name, and Ivan Poluis's contribution to science will be acknowledged only a century after the original discovery.